I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world below.
Okay, that's good. So basically, oof. Hey guys. That was amazing call, but I guess the connection was really not great. And when you talk about with
The internet connection or the human connection?
no, the internet connection, man. The human connection is always there. Yeah, the internet connection was not great because it's a mobile. Yeah, nothing you can do about it. And I guess that made it a bit challenging, but still we made a great outcome, I guess, from this call. So let's see what's going to happen in the next step.
All right, now today's guest.
Okay, today we are having a very interesting person. So he worked for. Initially, he's actually started as in the recruitment industry, in the agency, but then he went actually to the global players such as Meta, and after that, he went actually to the super aggressive scale up, which makes a lot of noise in the Europe, which is a dot. And after that, now he's in the gaming industry, in one of the best companies, I guess, in the industry, which is Abstraction. So I'm pretty much excited about this conversation. I hope you're gonna enjoy it all.
I'm going there to see my father
But then again, I'm not a guest of the talk.
and all my loved ones who gone.
Hi, my name is Chris. I've been working in TA for almost 14 years now. Worked mainly in kind of tech, SaaS, and now gaming. Worked in the US, but also in Ireland and now in Amsterdam for the last 6 years. Been leading teams for the last 5 years, and yeah, I suppose now I'm in the gaming industry, and it's been quite a wild ride. So happy to dig into it in more detail.
What would be one thing you've actually never said out loud before about your job, about your work, but you always think about it?
I've had imposter syndrome for a lot of my career, and I think it's something you never want to admit. It's something that you want to be able to show people externally that you know what you're doing, that you're confident in your ability, that this is normal. But I remember when it started, I suppose, when I moved over to the US and I got into a startup recruitment agency with one other, with the founder.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me to join the company, and I didn't really have any aspirations at that point, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was thrown in the deep end from day one, and from there we grew that business from zero. I think we ended up in 2 or 3 years, we got about 5 or 6 big clients. We got over 300 or 400K billed, which was just like something I wouldn't have ever been able to dream about. But absolutely had that imposter syndrome. The exact same thing happened when I went to Facebook.
Yeah.
I joined Facebook. I'm surrounded by incredibly smart people everywhere. Of course, you get that imposter syndrome immediately. Same thing happened when I went to Dot as well, and I moved in as more of a kind of senior recruiter or lead recruiter, and suddenly people are looking at you, asking you what we should do in certain situations, and again, the same thing happened again. And I think I'm learning that being able to deal with that is part of the process. It's part of the journey, and something that you should try and embrace as much as you can. But there's no doubt, try and get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. But I guess a lot of people have this feeling, but exactly as you said, you need to just fight back and just prove it.
Yeah, I think that's where you do grow the most as an individual, not even just in your career, but personally. I think if you're able to showcase, if you're able to show that you're growing and that you're gonna meet things head on and really kind of take risks, I think is some of the most rewarding times of my whole life, is when you take a risk and you don't know where it's gonna go, and you know, enjoy the journey.
If you go back a bit in the history, yeah, because you're coming from the Ireland.
Yeah.
What's the story? What's the story behind?
Irish, you know, I think as as Irish people are, we're really proud of where we're from, and but there's definitely it's also in the culture and the history to go and explore, and I think I had that in me from a young age to go and explore America first, and from there I continued to want to try and see new places, and it's embedded in our culture to do that, and I think the opportunity that you get when I went over to America, I had no aspirations whatsoever, but I met I would say an Irishman as well. Okay, his parents were Irish. He's American Irish, and he gave me a great opportunity to be a part of something really special, and that was to grow a recruitment agency. Now you will laugh at the name of the recruitment agency.
Shamrock.
It's called Shamrock Recruiting.
Yes. That's an amazing name.
So it's you couldn't write it. You really couldn't write it. But yeah, he was incredibly generous and a mentor to me. That guy Brian. He helped me get the H-1B. He allowed me to stay. I only had a visa for 12 months. He allowed me to stay for three and a half years, and that really put me on the journey that has gotten me to where I am right now, and the curiosity to continue to explore. I made the decision to come back to Ireland because I didn't want to be too far from home, and I got an incredible opportunity at Facebook, and then you're part of this incredibly culturally diverse company where you're meeting people from all over the world, and I couldn't believe that they're all in Dublin, my home. But that was, as I said, massive imposter syndrome at that point in my career when you do go into something like that. But I still wanted to give myself a chance at exploring startups, and that was the main reason and the main driver for me to move to DOT here in Amsterdam. And Amsterdam is one of the most beautiful cities in Europe, there's no doubt about it, in the world. And I've never looked back, you know. I moved 2 weeks before COVID hit. It was chaotic. Nobody knew what was going to happen. I was joining a company that was, the main goal of the organization was to put scooters into big cities, shared scooters for those who don't know. And how can you do that when all of the cities are closed down? You know, during COVID, it was a crazy time, but we got through that, and then next thing it exploded for the following year and a half, and then unfortunately took a dip. So it was. I would never look back. I think the journey I've been on from a career perspective has only gone up and up and up, and I'm now part of a gaming studio which works in a remote environment, which is again completely different to what I've been a part of up to this point. I've got a small team, but it's been really challenging, and I think this year especially has been really difficult for the company, but we're getting through it. And every single one of those opportunities has posed different challenges along the way that have been massive growth opportunities for me that I feel I've learned a huge amount from.
Because the challenges are a very interesting topic for me, and we will actually dive into that in a moment. But maybe just before that, you are in Dublin, in your house, basically, this is your home. You're at Meta, and then you're deciding to move. Obviously, you already said because of the curiosity, you have this in your DNA to be explorer, but still the question, it's a big step.
It is. It's funny, I remember a very vivid memory of speaking to my brother, and I'm there, we're out for dinner, and I tell him, listen, I think I'm going to take this new opportunity in Amsterdam. And he goes, are you crazy? Like, you've just been in you're only in Facebook for a year and a half, 2 years. You've so much more to explore there. And there was just something in me that really wanted to challenge myself and getting into a startup. and following a path that I think not a lot of people go down when you get into one of those big organizations. I felt like I learned a huge amount in that 2 years, and I also felt I could bring a lot to a smaller organization. And I think that was the main pull, was to get in and start building things. So get in and actually start building processes, be a part of a team that I could be also part of building from a recruitment perspective. There's no doubt about it. I think if you are in any way starting your recruitment career, you get into a big organization like that, it couldn't be a better training ground for you.
Yeah.
And then from there, the amount that you've absorbed, you can bring it all into a startup. It's not all going to be relevant. At the same time, I think there's so much of that it's not just what you learn, but also your own self-confidence. And how you feel about moving into a smaller company that has one other recruiter, and you're like, okay, I know this a lot more than everybody else here, even if I don't think I know as much of what the startup world is like.
Definitely.
You know, you're going from a place called like Meta or Facebook, where you get lunches and dinners provided for you left, right, and center, and then you go to a small little startup where, you know, you're handed a laptop and that's about it, and you said, right, let's do this. And that was way more exciting for me, was the opportunity to build some.
And do you feel that this DNA of the builder was always there with you?
I think the curiosity was always there.
Okay.
The opportunity hadn't really presented itself until I probably looked for it, to be honest. I went looking in London and in Amsterdam, and I got two opportunities, but one was a bigger company and the other was a much smaller one, and for me it was a no-brainer. The excitement and the chance to build something was gonna outweigh being part of another bigger company for sure.
Okay. As a person who actually experienced the culture in Ireland, the culture in US, and the culture in Europe, and now connecting it with the recruitment, how is different?
Yeah, so inherently being Irish, we're very humble people to a certain extent, I would say. We never like to be praised or be given major recognition. It's not really in our DNA. If you were to compliment me, I'd be like, Alistair, don't, like, just don't, okay? So when you go over to a place like America where everybody's selling themselves, it's massively different. And you have to get yourself into a mindset of doing that if you want to be successful over there. There's a way of thinking that I've experienced when I went to networking events and met some others through Shamrock. It isn't just what can you do for me? It's very much what can I do for you? What can you do for me? Like it's two-way street.
Transaction.
Whereas in Ireland, it's much more about like, I'm gonna help you out, and down the road, you know, hopefully it'll come back around. It's a very different way of doing business. Here in Europe, it's just a different culture in the way that companies work, and again, I think cultures are different here in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands to what it is in France and Germany, right? So I can only speak from my experience here in Amsterdam, but I've also been part of a much bigger expat world here. So I'm not necessarily dealing with specifically Dutch people that often, except my current company, I've got a lot more Dutch people here than we do in other companies that have been, or at DOT, for example. But I think there's a massive difference between an international company and one that's very Dutch oriented here in the Netherlands. And I think the bigger thing is, especially here, is the actual Dutch, speaking Dutch, and what that actually adds value to within an international environment. And unfortunately, we're at a point, I would say, here where a lot of internationals don't know Dutch, including myself, which is a bit of a shame because it is part of the country, and you know, I know Dutch people are very proud of their language and where they come from, and I absolutely respect that massively. But when you live in Amsterdam, it is inherent that you walk around to cafes and everywhere, and it's English speaking. So from a cultural perspective, the Dutch directness is real, that's for sure, but it is also refreshing at times where you get to understand that no one's beating around the bush. In Ireland, we'll beat around the bush. There's no doubt about it. We do that a lot, and in the UK as well. But I think here in Europe, it's much more acceptable to be very direct with people, and people don't take as much offense to it, which took a little bit of time to get used to.
And now going, I think, to the challenges a bit, because first of all, yeah, being part of the Meta, it's a giant. A lot of challenges there as well, but at the same time, there is some kind of a procedure, processes in place, because otherwise you cannot build a giant like Meta. Yeah. But now you are at Abstraction, you are leading the talent acquisition team. Yeah. Obviously, it comes not only with the pluses as a leader, but also comes with a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
What are the challenges in 2025 you have so far?
You know, I think the challenges initially when I joined the company was the lack of anything being implemented, right? And I think the biggest thing before you jump in and you start implementing processes and everything like that, you need to educate people. And one of the biggest things in the gaming industry was that there was a lot of people that just weren't as educated in what talent acquisition actually meant. We've moved from being operational recruiters to talent acquisition partners, and talent acquisition partners are different. They're not just the ones that are operationally recruiting people. We're the ones that are implementing new processes that are focused on how we can improve the candidate experience, for example. How can we get ourselves and be more visible in front of the right audience, so employer branding as well. And even for our own systems, new systems like Ashby or Greenhouse, ever, like which ones are the best ones to be implementing. And none of that had been done when I initially came into Abstraction, or if they did, we had a very old system that we needed to update, etc. So coming in, you need to really be able to educate people on, not just people, executives, C-level, on why you're looking to implement these processes and why they need to be updated, which again in the gaming industry it was quite traditional, and still is very far behind when it comes to tech, etc. But I can tell you in the more recent year or two, the industry itself has gone through a really difficult period. A lot of studios have been closing down. I don't think it's ever been on its knees like it is right now. And that poses a huge amount of challenges for myself and my team, because if we're just trying to survive through this, we're certainly not looking to hire a huge amount of people. And that means that we need to keep ourselves busy to a point that we're still providing an important impact for the company. So we really need to focus on, when we do start hiring again, what is going to help us be in the best possible place in order to do this moving forward. And so I worked with my team on understanding how we could build the right pipelines so that we were ready if roles did unlock, that would be able to hire people in no time. And we agreed with our hiring managers and our C-level that we would split the interview process in half, and we would get our hiring managers and recruiters to speak to candidates early in the process, inform them that there's a role that's going to come up, etc. And then when the role actually opens up, we hired people within 7 days because we'd done a lot of the work beforehand. And it's little things like that if you're a little bit proactive based on what you're trying to achieve in the grand scheme of things, which was hiring the right people, it gave us more time to speak to the right people and get them in the pipeline, get them interested. We're in a luxury position because the market is a lot of people are open to actually having those conversations. But if, let's say, we turn the script on this and we say, right, the market is there's not as many candidates available, you won't be able to have a pipeline of 4 or 5 candidates sitting waiting until a role opens up. You would need to change your strategy on how you actually how you recruit moving forward. So I'd say that's one of the key things that we implemented that I saw as a massive impact or massive difference over the last year when roles did come up. But it has been challenging to keep the team motivated as well.
I can imagine that, even though you went actually from the reactive to proactive approach, which helped a lot as well, like to make everyone busy with available job. But at the same time, where it's actually going now, where do you see that the talent acquisition is going in 2026, and how is the shift?
Yeah, we're TA's moving week by week at the moment in such a fast way I've never ever experienced it, and I think trying to stay on top of everything. I don't know if you listen to Hum Lee's podcast, would be one of the bigger ones to stay up to date on what's happening out there. But you know, right now we've moved past ChatGPT, building GPTs, to building AI agents and using N8N as a platform in order to do that for a normal person, to create automations, but also create AI agents that are able to do a lot of the administrative work for us moving forward. And I really believe that over the next 2 or 3 years, TA partners are going to need to know how to build AI agents, how to be able to spot opportunities to build an AI agent so that we can reduce the teams that we actually have. So the reality right now is the recruitment industry or the TA industry is going to shrink. And it's shrinking because we are going to have more people coming into or more bots, more AI influencing it. But the ones at the top are still going to be the ones that are managing all of this. And there's still going to need to be a human touch for sure, but it will be reduced teams. But we will need to become AI literate. I also think we're going to have a huge amount of time in our hands, so we need to be a little bit more creative in how we try and attract people. And that comes down to personal branding. We're seeing it all over LinkedIn at the moment. TA people left, right and center, all over my feed in a really positive way, but they're all trying to boost their own personal brand. But for companies, if you've got somebody in your company doing that, that's boosting the company's brand massively as well. So I do think that it's going to go in a way where employer branding and content creation is going to become really big for TA. And also, being very comfortable with AI agents, what they can do, building a sourcing agent, building whatever types of agents that could be valuable for your company.
Chris, I have something interesting to ask, but can we actually start walking with you, Sorry?
Sure.
Yeah. Chris, for the ones who don't believe in this remote working, that you can actually make the shit happen, you can make the magic while not being in the office, what are you gonna say? Because obviously you are here in the big space.
I say this only works if you are able to see your team and collaborate your team in some capacity. Human connection is still the most important thing for us, and I think we need to actually feel that as well. So brainstorming sessions, being able to hash out arguments, things like that, they're much better in person than they are online, and I think we all know that. But there is a lot of work that can be done online that you don't need to actually be in person. So the situation I have at my company is that we all meet together once a month for a few days, and then we all separate for those extra 3 days or three weeks.
Okay.
And I think that that works, but I can tell you, fully remote, I still think there's gaping holes in the fact that people they work in their silos, they don't work with the rest of the organization, and you do miss out on opportunities of your product people speaking to your engineers about certain things. You know, there is a lack of crossover in certain departments, certain areas, that leads to a lack of opportunities.
I completely agree. But then there is a tricky one, yeah? You say about the remote working the rest of the 3 weeks, but then you're still not completely remote because you're sitting here with your team, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. You're dead right. So for me, I'm an extrovert. I like to be around people. I like to be around people that are working as well. So I did my first year specifically at home. I didn't have a co-working space, but I knew myself that I needed to find somewhere that I felt like I could be in a work environment. And this works. This works for me, this place. And I think that's been one of the most important things for me, is that I found this place and I can come and go as I please.
Okay, that's amazing. And can I touch two things from the previous conversations we had? Yeah. So first of all, we touched actually the angle of the shift, how the talent acquisition is shifting towards the 2026 and what type of role they need to do. But can I actually specify maybe one thing? Can we focus on the head of talent acquisition and what should be the role of the head of talent acquisition in 2026, maybe even 2027?
I think the role of a head of TA right now is to assess not just the processes, the AI efficiencies that we need to be putting in place, but also looking critically at our own teams. You know, what do we actually need? We still need human connection. We still need to have, people dealing with people. It's one of the most important things about business. People respond to emotions. People respond to how you make me feel. People respond to how you communicate with me. If I know it's from an AI bot or an AI agent, it is different. There's no doubt about it. So I think as a head of TA, massively important to make sure that you've got the balance between how AI and automation is going to impact us, but also how we're going to continue to have humans and people in our teams.
That's amazing. And I think we are ready to move, right? We talked about the technology with you a bit. You touched that the talent acquisition people should actually embrace the technology. They have to actually leverage from it, and etc. But my question would be maybe a bit controversial, but you tell me. I start seeing that the executive, like the big ones, they are a bit harsh with the budgets. And now, if tomorrow your CEO will come and say like, Chris, we need to cut the team twice, leverage from the technology, what's going to be your move?
Yeah, ultimately, I think...
Without changing the targets, by the way. The same targets, the same goals.
I don't think it's possible. Let's leverage AI in order to reduce our team potentially. Let's make sure that we've covered all the administrative tasks as we could. And then we still need a human touch. We still need people, still need recruiters actually getting people excited about the company. Actually giving people legitimate feedback. Sure, you can get feedback from an AI bot, but at the same time, it's emotions is what we're good at and what makes us different. And being able to build a relationship with a candidate is just so important in our industry.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that a CEO needs to understand.
Okay.
If they're gonna try and look at ways to cut budgets and things like that, culture is one of the most important things you're going to develop as a company. It's the engine of the organization, and hiring is one of the biggest points that's going to impact that culture. So you want to make sure that you've got the right people in place. You do that with having top quality recruiters in those seats helping find the right people.
Okay. What type of job you wouldn't actually give to AI, even being very critical, even being very open for the innovation in the hiring process side?
So I think guiding people through the process is still a massively important aspect, because I'm going to come back to it again, but how a TA partner or recruiter actually can get someone excited about a role and get someone invested in the company. You can't get that from an AI bot telling you that you did a good job. It's like there's emotion, there's trust, there's building that type of relationship, and they're the key things to what we do. They're inherent to being a good recruiter or TA partner. So that's one thing that you can't replace. You definitely can't. Sure, there's a lot of administrative stuff, but ultimately, we're in the business to build relationships. We're in the business to help others, and I think that's never going to go away.
Is this the place?
This is it.
What is the biggest disappointment across the talent acquisition people out there where you feel a lot but you cannot say it out loud a lot?
There's a part of TA that I think is, I feel like we're not as respected as we used to be actually within TA, and I'm talking from an external organizational point of view, not within the TA industry. Okay, so I think C-level executives, they've gone backwards a little bit to focus on speed to get people in, and neglecting some of the more important things, which would be like candidate experience and making sure that we're creating a good environment for people during interviews. I think we've moved massively away from that, which is a real shame, and it's disappointing to see. But because things have been very difficult over the last 4 or 5 years, we have C-level and executives, I feel, have gone backwards a little bit in their thinking, and the old way of let's try and get as much as we can for as little as we can, which disregards all of the things that actually create a better environment for candidates. So I think candidate experience is one of the most important things for anybody within TA. It's one of the main reasons, or the main things that I'd be measuring your TA processes based on. And you take parts of that away, and it's going to deflate what you can offer as an organization. And I feel unfortunately that's kind of happened in the last number of years, that we've really been trying to fight for as TA leaders at the table, but the reality right now is that, you know, money is still seen as the bottom line, and if it means that you can't have that specific tool because it's too much money in order to enhance the experience, that could be taken away, which could have a massive impact on the quality of people that you bring in. So I think that's one of the things that's really disappointing over the last number of years.
Okay. And maybe because you already touched the topic of the executive as well, I have two follow-up questions. So the first one would be, what is the best way to prove the efficiency that you need those tools, or you need actually some of the things, to the big executives, to the CEO of the company, that they can actually trust you and say like, okay, you have the budget even though we didn't plan it before?
I think you need to be smart when you're speaking to execs and C-level. You really need to know what they want to see and what's actually going to provide an impact, rather than just asking, can we have these tools, or can we get budget for these things? It's much more around doing the best you can with what you have, but also being innovative in with new tools and new things that you've potentially tried or are looking to try down the road as well. So I think if you're able to provide an impact, or provide an explanation or clarity around how this is going to impact the business in a positive way, it's as good as you can get. As I said, like, it may not be always listened to, but for us, I think I said it to you outside, but for me, the most important thing is creating a culture where people can perform at their best.
And in order to do that, you need to bring in people that know how to do that. In order to do that, you need to have the right processes to be able to bring those people in. So it's a cascading effect almost,
Yeah.
where if you don't create the environment or the processes to bring those people in, you're not going to get those people to come in that will transform your business.
Yeah. In a way, we're going to the level that you should know how to evaluate or estimate the quality of the hire. And obviously you can actually connect it back to the point of the hires. Then you have the budget, then you have actually the buy-in from all the big guys.
Yeah, and I think, again, speaking to execs, etc., you need to talk about talent density within the studio. We can look across our teams and say, right, we have 5 people in this team. How many of them can you live without? Or how many of them would you fight for if we told you your whole team is gone tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
If you say 2, then you seriously need to look at those other 3 members of the team and say, okay, well, what value are they adding right now? And we're having those conversations regularly with, I've had these conversations with my C-level as well, because they're asking critical questions when you're in financially, tougher positions, tougher spots. These are questions you have to face as a TA leader, and you have to be critical with them. You have to understand not just from a TA perspective and the people side, but you also need to understand from the business side the impact of potentially keeping people that are not having the value that you want to, that you think they can provide. So the harsh reality there is you could end up hiring one more person that could do those 3 people's jobs if they are efficient, if they have more knowledge and more understanding. Sure, they might be more expensive than one of them, but the odds are they won't be more expensive than 3, but they might provide a better impact. So, but to get that person, you need to have an environment that they're excited to come into, and that happens at the very start of the process on the first call with that candidate.
I got it. And again, going back to the executives, and honestly, you can disagree with me, but what I keep hearing from the executives, that the TA people now, they waste time. There's the time of candidates, the time of the companies, and they're not bringing a lot of impact to the company. What do you think about it?
I don't know what TA people you've been speaking to or executives you've been talking to. I do think that that's a short-term way of looking at it. First of all, I would say for the TA people that I know, none of them are wasting time on stupid tasks or tasks that are not adding any impact. What I do think the issue is transparency in providing executives with an insight into what's actually happening. I think that's the most important aspect right now, is like giving them an actual insight, over communicating with them, giving them reports, giving them actual impact, saying this is the type of impact we're providing right now. This is what we're doing in order to try and make things better. This is what we're doing to make sure that we're ready for when recruitment kicks off again. And I think executives are absolutely going to say they're wasting time if they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And I can agree with that. But that comes down to us as leaders to actually be able to provide that sort of
insights,
clarity and transparency.
But then we're going a bit back to the role of the head of TA, who is responsible for that in a way, right?
That's definitely the head of TA, I think. So maybe they're not the ones specifically. If they're the ones hiring, or their teams, they're the ones hiring should be responsible for providing the reports, etc. But certainly the head of TA should be the one responsible for actually giving actual support there, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Why the talent acquisition people love the noise? They want to be on the events, they want to have this personal branding on the LinkedIn, even sometimes feeling like you're gonna doubt like if they're really working or they're just busy with making themselves out there.
I think I don't think every recruiter or TA person needs to be doing it or enjoys doing it at all. There's plenty of recruiters that I know that are more introverted but are excellent at their job. But the ones that do, there's no doubt that it actually does bring more traction to whether it be the personal brand or the employer's brand. It does add value if you are talking about the right things. I started writing on LinkedIn 2 years ago, and the main reason for that was to give people an insight into what I know, try and actually help people that are looking for a job, try and help people that are building and growing companies what they need to do in certain situations. And I think I was getting a really good response on a lot of that, and that encourages you to do it a little bit more, you know. And I think that's something that is valuable to those that are not in the recruitment industry or the TA industry.
There is a game we have in the end with our guests. So it's very simple. It's rock, scissors, paper. If you win, you can choose one of the two merchandise, be it umbrella or be it hoodie. That's the first choice you need to make right now.
Okay.
What exactly you want?
Okay. You want me to tell you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm saying given the weather right now, it might be the umbrella.
That's it. Umbrella then.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna win, and we go until who's gonna win 3 times first,
Okay.
then you have to pilot Avery.
For sure.
Okay, ready for that?
Let's do it.
Okay, you say it.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors. Scissors. Okay.
1-0.
Rock, paper, scissors. Oh.
No, I was trying to. Okay, this is
got me.
interesting. One more. That's it.
That's
Champ.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot for being a guest. And yeah, look at this. This amazing weather. We're in Amsterdam, and Chris was an amazing guest for us. So you're gonna see the episode very soon.